Hi, I'm Karen Sutherland from Edible Eden Design, and today I'd like to take you through a permaculture progression in my garden. Now, I've showed you a progression in the front garden with the feijoas, where we pruned the lower areas and that enabled more space in the driveway, and this was something that had to happen as the plants became bigger. Now, these beautiful kiwi vines have been living in this garden for approximately 30 years. I planted them about 30 years ago at least. And sometimes they've given a good 12 kilos or more of fruit, maybe up to 15 kilos a year, but not reliably every year, and they're also extremely difficult to manage. The gardeners are getting older and we're finding it more difficult to manage everything in the garden, we're trying to simplify. We're deciding, making a big decision to take these plants out. Now, the management system that I introduced here was a very large L-shaped metal structure that my dad made for me many years ago, very industrial, and I based that on the plants that I saw in Melbourne Zoo when I did my gardening apprenticeship there. And so the kiwis were allowed to just ramble through the trees as they would in nature, and I liked that idea. I thought it was fabulous and it could just grow up and over. However, in retrospect, my neighbour Anna's kiwis, who I have videos of that you can also access, shows a much more refined, flat to the fence idea, much easier to control and harvest and net. So this is what I was aiming to try and bring my old structure back to, but I found it really difficult to achieve. And so I've made the very big decision to take out the kiwis, have a new phase in the garden, and put in instead a kiwi berry, which is a small hairless kiwi fruit, a different species of Actinidia, and also a new choco. As my choco vine on the other side of the garden is getting quite old, needs replacing, it's probably more than 10 years old now, and instead of producing up to 500 fruits a year, it's only producing about 50 this winter. So it needs a new position anyway, and all of these things combined have led to the decision to remove these large, beautiful plants. These are the last two kiwi fruits that we will get from these plants, which is all we got this year. As I said, last year we got about 12 kilos, and you can see that this plant, it's very lush, it's very beautiful, and the passing of these plants, or the removal of these plants, marks a big change in the very overgrown, beautiful tropical feel that this garden has had. But as it gets bigger and more established and we get older, it gets much more difficult to manage. Now, the other issue, of course, is that it interacts, as you can see, with the very now established apple tree, which is a real problem in trying to net the apple or keep it pruned. It interacts with the neighbour's very annoying potato climber, the white solanum climber, and altogether there's just way too much vegetation happening, and the amount of care and pruning that it takes to keep these maintained is impossible. So this is what was left of the male kiwi, quite a sizable root ball. And you can see there's still some roots down there that are quite big. Maybe stick your hand next to it, Josh, as a scale.
Yeah, hop in the hole.
Yeah. So you can see they're quite big. They're as big as his forearm, really, or slightly as big as his wrist at least. So they may reshoot. They possibly will. So he's gonna cut them down as deep as possible, and then with an axe, and then we'll just see whether they reshoot, and hopefully they're low enough down that they don't get the chance to reshoot. It's not stopping.
Oh.